What's up guys, Coach Az back again with another Strikers Breakdown, and this week we're going to take a look at Rafael Fiziev. I think I'm saying that right. Fiziev is how it's always pronounced on the thing, but I believe it's Fiziev. A shout out to Max Muller, one of our subscribers who recommended this one, and I think it's a great shout. Apologies, my voice is a little crackly, but we're going to power our way through it as we go through his stance, his guard, the punching techniques, the kicking techniques, the clinch game, and those intangibles that make him the fighter that he is. Rafael is originally from Kazakhstan. He started Muay Thai around the age of 11 and competed in that professionally before he went into MMA. He was a coach at Tiger Muay Thai, which is one of the biggest and most successful Muay Thai gyms in Thailand, and now trains out of Sanford MMA. When it comes to his style, it's definitely an adapted Muay Thai style that's been adjusted for the world of MMA. He's an aggressive and explosive power puncher with lightning fast, untelegraphed kicks. His stance is certainly something that's interesting. He's listed on most websites as being switch. However, I'm quite sure that he fights as an orthodox fighter. He just has certain techniques that he likes to throw, in particular against the southpaw, where you'll see him switch to the southpaw stance in order to open it up. And we'll talk a little bit about that when it comes to his kicking game. Similar to Valentina Shevchenko, who we spoke about previously on this channel, he keeps a relatively balanced stance, nothing too wide, nothing too narrow, and he keeps his weight evenly distributed upon both legs. I've spoken before about the adjusted Muay Thai guard, the idea that it's not going to be as long as it probably would be when he used it in Muay Thai, and it's got that adjustment to help prepare for the takedown attempts that might be getting shot underneath. So with that, he wears his guard relatively high, often protecting his chin and up around the sides of his head. He keeps his elbows relatively in. He does leave a little space down that center line, but again, I think that comes from that Muay Thai background, being used to having the 10-ounce gloves and having a bit more space between each hand. Add to this his fantastic head movement and his amazing ability to lean back. He's got one of the best lean backs I've seen in the game, which is where you effectively lean your body back and let big kicks, especially roundhouse kicks, swing past you and then even counter back with a leg kick afterwards. Footwork wise, he's relatively simple. He's always marching forward and he's always on the attack and on the prowl against his opponents. This means that it's relatively simple for him. It's always a march step, stepping in, and he likes to stay right on the edge of the fire. By that I mean he's always just about in striking range with just a little bit of head movement, or like I said, those lean backs or a small amount of footwork to get him out of trouble when necessary. But he's not against standing there and trading blows with his opponents. Now, unlike a lot of the MMA fighters that we've looked at so far, he actually throws more than 2 punches. Very often in MMA, especially when you've not yet got your opponent rocked or you don't think you've got the finish yet, you'll see them throwing single and 2-shot punching combinations. Again, this is to kind of preempt for the grappling portion of the fight. If you're throwing these long, big combinations, there's a good chance that people can shell up, get underneath, level change, and get their way into a takedown. However, Rafael often is throwing 3, 4, and even 5 punch combinations, and often with great success. He's a relatively short fighter for his division, and the way he compensates for this and makes up for it is that he'll work his combinations starting to the body and then build his way upstairs. By attacking the body first, it means he's got less distance to travel with the shots. He can find the range, make contact, and then work his way up to the head to inflict the damage. In particular, when discussing his MMA career, he certainly focuses on being a power puncher. You won't see him working behind his jab very much. He loves the big looping hooks, and he'll throw them on both sides to try and keep his opponent pinned in front of them till he can find their chin. For me, however, his kicking game is what's most impressive. Not because of all the clever setups, not because he's got a huge range of techniques, it's the pure, blistering speed of his kicks. I speak a lot on this channel about the importance of setting up your kicks behind your punches, about making sure that you disguise it because kicks take that much longer to get there and they're that much more difficult to land. Rafael obviously missed the memo on this one because this guy just throws them raw. Not only does his kicks have blistering speed, but they've got such little telegraph that they almost just don't require a setup. Whether it be a leg kick, body kick, or a head kick, he will just throw it completely on its own, and more often than not, he still manages to find the mark. Now, he'll mix in the occasional teep and he'll mix in the occasional spinning back kick, but realistically, this guy is chopping at you with roundhouse kicks to all 3 levels. I'd say his combination work is as expected. He likes to start with the punches, work into the body, brings his way upstairs, and if he's going to add a kick into that mix, then it's probably going to come at the end of the combo. Hands to start, find the range, and then throw one of those powerful kicks, whether it be to the leg, body, or the head. He doesn't throw an awful lot of combinations though. You tend to see him throwing combinations with his hands, or like I said, throwing those raw kicks. And occasionally he'll blend the two together, especially if he really feels like he's getting a read on the timing or he knows he's got the speed advantage on his opponent. He of course benefits from that classic Muay Thai clinch game, elbows and knees on the inside all the time. What he does really well is when people shoot in on a takedown, he manages to wrap up their head, ensure that their hands are clear of the floor so that he's allowed to strike to the head, and you'll see him working knees up into the dome. And although we're doing a striker's breakdown, whilst we're talking about takedown defense, I think it's really impressive the level of balance this guy has on one leg. Now again, this comes from his Muay Thai background because a big part of Muay Thai is that you can catch the leg and you can sweep the foot. So they develop a great understanding of how to balance on one leg if it gets caught and how to free that leg so that they don't get swept down to the floor. Let's finish up by talking about the intangibles. One of the big ones for Rafael is the man just loves to fight. I don't see many fighters having as good a time in the ring, whether they're winning the exchange or losing the exchange. The man just has such an appreciation for it. When he lands a good kick, he likes to stand back and shout and appreciate it. And when his opponent does the same, he'll give them the nod. He's a real lover of the fight game. And I think that goes a long way for him because it helps him to be relaxed when he gets into the cage and it helps him to just enjoy the performance. It also means that as he develops more momentum, as he has more success, it builds his confidence as the rounds go. Now the questions have come up about his conditioning because we've seen him fade a few times in the 3rd round, but I think this just comes down to all the power this man puts behind every shot. Everything he throws is to kill. Every punch, every kick has bad intentions behind it. He's not one for setting up his combos off of a little bit of a light flurry. Everything is trying to land and put your lights out, and I think that can be extremely difficult for people to deal with. Now obviously if you can bear with that, and it'll be very interesting to see him getting into 5-round events where if people can get him to those championship rounds, I think we might see an issue in terms of his conditioning. But for now, on these 3-round fights, that power seems to be the great equalizer and helps him blast through opponent after opponent. I had this conversation with our subscriber Max Muller in the comments section saying that I think he's done one of the best jobs of adapting Muay Thai to MMA. He's stuck to his roots in terms of what he knows works for them, but he's made the necessary adjustments to help deal with the takedown attempts and the grappling. He's an exciting fighter and I'm looking forward to seeing his next battle. So guys, that's about wraps it up for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to go make myself a lemsip and I will see you on the next one.